Hey guys, we are back after a wild week 2, and I think I said it in the show notes. I think we've said this before. It usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks before we actually figure out how these teams are going to pair out, what their MOs are, and man, you couldn't have said that any better after this week. A lot of teams that we thought were going to be front runners kind of either shit the bed, or ones that we didn't think they were going to be front runners kind of did a whole 180 from last week. So it's pretty wild show. The chat function is on, guys. So if you guys got something to comment on, if we missed something during the show, which we probably are because we're a bunch of half-ass internet researchers, chime in. Let us know. Man, we'll start with Thursday night, I guess, right? Because that leads off to 5AD1, right? Yeah. And we're just going to go down the row here. We'll start at the top, and we'll work our way down. So Thursday night, which was our game of the week. Alice taking the trip over to Buck Stadium. We both we're both gonna swallow a little bit on that one, eat some crow there. We both thought Alice was gonna maybe shock the world and beat Vets, and that really wasn't the case. Was it, Justin?
No, man, that was pretty disappointing from just on the outside looking in, right? Because I legitimately came into that game thinking, you know what, like I know Alice is probably reeling off that close loss to Vets last year, and then a lot of talk has been already kind of written on their behalf. I think from just random fans and people that are pretty close to that community and close to that team anyway. So I guess a little bit of the hype, you kind of buy into it, right? And you want to buy into what they're selling. I still think they're a great program, but to me there was a lot of just I don't really know what to think on like some of it because, we're close to Cutter. He did not look like himself at all. He was just kind of spotty. The accuracy wasn't there. Didn't seem like he was throwing with his legs and or anything. He was trying to use a lot of his upper body. I don't know what exactly is going on there, and I'm not going to speculate on it. But Cutter definitely doesn't look like the Cutter Stewart we know. To me, Alice, though, on their defense, I was very impressed with the size of their defense. They got a massive defensive line. They got a bunch of talented linebackers and DBs. And I just think, they kind of offense could never get the ball moving. And it's the same thing that happens. You start getting worn out. You start giving Vets multiple opportunities, and they capitalize on it. And honestly, when you really look at it, Vets is exactly who they are, right? I talked to Quentin before the game, right before you got there, and he was asking me, and we were talking about it, and he brought up a very good, point against Vets and at the same time is Vets probably didn't feel like they should have won in a close game against Alice last year. So that was some chip on that shoulder. And then on the top of that, they blew a lead to a good New Braunfels Canyon team the week prior to start the season off 0-1, which I don't think they've done in a long time. I don't even think we touched on that last show.
Speaking of that Canyon team, they put a hurting on a Victoria school this past week, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying. I think they won on like 55-21 over one of the Victoria schools. So, I mean, they're starting to put out some good product on the field. So, it was disappointing for that game to go 35-0. I think Alice will get it going. Their district kind of plays in favor for them and Carrol. Again, that's going to be the ticket, right? But Vets definitely looks tougher than I think what people are giving them credit. And Alice looks good, but they're going to have to figure out what's going on with Cutter in that quarterback situation because we talked about it at the game. It's just like they would stop right before every time they had a almost like a signal. They would adjust their play at the line of scrimmage and just seem to slow them down. And then on top of that, you're throwing quick out routes that aren't very accurate. So it just was a really mixed bag of what their offense was doing. And it seemed like every time they got down there, they just could not capitalize. That Vets defense was pretty stout. So Vets looks pretty good. I think Alice is going to be okay. They're just going to need to figure out what's going on with Cutter and how they can adjust, I think.
Yeah. So we'll see. And there's a, back in that back alley again, there's some talk in there that some of the kids in Alice aren't buying into the program and maybe walking away from it. But
I hope not, man, because, we haven't really, Kyle's one of the ones that we haven't really had a chance to get out to meet and all that hoopla that we've done, with a bunch of other coaches around this area. But, just looking from the outside, you got half the people seem to like what he's doing, and the other half, they're pretty critical of it. And I hope this doesn't snowball right for them, because it seems like the last couple of years it's like we got this Alice high. They're looking great, tons of talent, come out looking good, then just starts going downhill, and the next thing you know, they're like 5-5 or 6-4, getting into the playoffs and getting maybe to round 2. And if you listen to some of the real fans, it's because that round 1 game is not very challenging, and then they get blown off the earth, and it's like, it's disappointing because Alice does have the talent and the kids over there, so hopefully they start buying in and start putting up kind of what the old Alice homers are used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Definitely. Let's move on, right? So CC Ray, another surprising 2-0. They had a victory again against TM, 3-0. Fourth quarter field goal lifts them over the top, but Ray is 2-0. When's the last time Ray's been 2-0? Anybody want to help us out with that? It's been a while.
Man,
I would say since don't make me lie and give him the wrong name. What was the quarterback's name there a few years ago?
Oh no, you know what? Oh, okay. It was Bell, right? 2018.
No,
Bell. It was Bell, right?
Tyler Riddell, 1920 was the last time Ray was 2-0. It wasn't Bell. Somebody will chime in. There's got to be a Ray fan in here somewhere that'll tell us. I can't remember, but he went out and played college ball in the Northeast somewhere.
Do we compared him all the time because he was
Brad.
Pretty sure it was Brad Bell.
No, it wasn't Bill. Somebody will chime in.
Anyways, that was the year they got knocked out by Wagner.
Yeah, and everybody.
That was probably the last time they were 2-0.
Everybody got wiped out by Wagner that year, except Shadow Creek.
Yeah.
I guess the elephant in the room, Miller, right? So Miller's good at football, apparently, right?
Yeah.
So they had which was and I told you, to me, it lost the luster a little bit after El Campo lost that week 1 to Cuero, and but like you said, it's not every day you get to see a number 1, number 2 ranked offense or running back in the nation come into Corpus Christi. So that was good to see that, and Miller was able to hold him to 158 yards of offense. And if you follow Ruben Owens, that's a very low production day.
It's 2 weeks of 158.
Yeah, for the Black Unicorn. So Miller did a good job holding him in check. But you watched a little bit of that film. I didn't get to watch any of it. What did you see on it?
Well, I mean, Miller, honestly, they look good. The offense is continuing to improve, it looks like. Trevor Long, I think, is the big story there. Seems to be starting to kind of come out a little bit as maybe the preferred guy moving forward at quarterback for them. I don't want to speculate on that, but a lot of people seem to be really enthralled with what he's doing. He had I think you had his numbers. He was like 7 of 8 for over 100.
7 for 8 for 258.
Yeah, there you go, 258. I mean, I saw some highlights of him. He moves the pocket well with his feet too. I think that's another thing that goes unnoticed is he doesn't just stand there in the pocket and sling. He can do it, but at the same time, he can move the pocket when he needs to, which with his receiving core, I mean, he's buying extra time. That's just your defenses are going to get, I mean, unless you have unreal athletes out there, it's going to be hard to slow that down, right? So the best thing you can do to stop that is you're going to have to start collapsing and having some QB contained if he's moving forward. But offense looks good. Their defense is starting to play the part, right? That's one of the big things that Justin and them talked about was, hey, the last couple of years, everyone's knocking the defense. That's been the weak link. And, you hold Ruben Owens in check to 158. That's pretty darn good. And, if you look at the El Campo team, they got size, right? It just seems like the offensive line's not gelling. And back-to-back weeks, defenses have taken advantage of their offensive line. And, Ruben, if you watch Ruben, man, he's 6 foot. He's fast. He can move. He's got good cuts. But it's hard to do things when you got a good defense in the backfield as soon as you're taking the handoff. And, I watched a play or two, and he busted one for a touchdown. He did a couple cuts and showed exactly why he's ranked so high. And, he got called back on an offensive holding call. And it's like, it seems like every time I've tuned in so far to El Campo's games, their offensive line's holding him back. And they're going to have to figure something out because I know El Campo's fan base is not going to be happy with 0-2. And, next week they got Vets. And if Vets comes out and plays tough, that defense looks stout as well. I chalk that up probably as another loss for El Campo. So they're going to have to do something down up there in El Campo to figure that out. But Miller's defense coming along very nicely. Them and Vets, it's going to be a classic again. I think it's going to be kind of like the Carter Center Fit and Andrew Body era, man. That was packing stands and throwing down, and looking forward to that one.
Yeah, man. I think you summed it up best right there. If you read some of the social media goings ons and things like that, they're not happy with what's happening in Ocampo. I know their Facebook page put on a message, hey, it's stay behind us kind of thing, don't give up on us yet and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely some rumblings going on out there. And Chad Worrell, who's a state championship winning coach, is his second year there
From
in
Brock.
Ocampo, coming from Brock, where he's used to having talent and people around him and having kids that can make plays. I don't know what's going on over there. Maybe they're not buying in or something, but I don't know. It's definitely different than what he's used to.
Yeah, for sure.
With that, let's jump into 5A D2 and start with your Wildcat. So that we're going to kind of hit two birds with one stone here. So it's Battle of the Bridge, GP and Carrol. We had some talk about Carrol because they came off a 55-12 win over Ed Cachelsa last week, and then they get the big goose egg this week. You were there, right? So what happened?
Yeah, man. So GP busting out. Got to touch on that. The blue uniforms for the first time. I don't think I've seen those since like 2000 when they had.
I saw somebody call them the Bills Mafia.
Yeah, Bills Mafia was cool. I think that was Matt. He was the center. Remember, he was the center in Miller a couple years ago. Big Matt. He's actually pretty in touch with what's going on local and coastal men, so it's good for Matt. Now, GP, man, defense again. Gosh, the defense looks tight, looks stout. Khalid Goldsby, he's a monster for them. They're doing very well there. Brody's doing really good at middle linebacker for us. But Carrol, what surprised me with Carrol, right, is it's not the Carrol that we've been used to the last couple of years, right? There's something new going on, right? Like the kids they're fighting the full game. They honestly they brought a very good crowd. They filled up the away side pretty good. That was shocking to me. I ain't seen that in a while for the Carrol fan base. So they're starting to get some people back in the program again. And when I watched them on the field at first, is they got athletes to compete. They have size to compete. But, GP just did a really good job with that defense of slowing them up. And I'm not saying Carroll's, they're not one of the powers of the Coastal Bend right now, but they're definitely better than what they have been in the past. But for me, it was Dalvin Batts, man. He came out and he busted out. He only ran in the first half. He came out with, it was 15 carries. Yeah, 15 carries, 181 and 4 TDs. Ross Dubose on the other end, he was catching passes. He had 9 catches for $122 and 1 touchdown. And then the big story was filling, Brandon Redden's spot with a sophomore quarterback in Reed Dooms. And, for a sophomore quarterback, he couldn't have asked for a better start. He came out and he was 13 for 16, 138 and a touchdown. My biggest takeaway from Reed Dooms was never at any point did he force a bad pass into tight coverage, right? When coverage was good, he either checked down, moved the pocket with his feet pretty well, and then made good decisions, right? So my takeaway on that was, had he came out and struggled, I think I'd have been a little worried, like, okay, he's a sophomore. It's going to be some growing pains here, but honestly, he threw really good balls. I think him and Ross Dubose got play tonight on KRS. If you get a chance to check it out, it's a really pretty pass over the middle for like 48. So moving forward, I think they're in good hands. I think the coaching staff, they relied really heavily on the run with Bats, and then they brought in Moreno, and Moreno ran really well for us. So when you have a stiff defense like that, and you got a running back like Dalvin Bats, Dalvin started the game off, I think, with like a 68-yard touchdown run, untouched up the middle. So the offensive line was opening some holes. They got some young guys on that line. But when you have that kind of talent around a quarterback like Reed, who's a sophomore, adjusting to the varsity speed level, that helps out tremendously, right? And the biggest takeaway again was never forced it in bad situations, made good decisions with the ball, had really nice touch on his pass, and the confidence is there. He had no point ever looked like a scared, intimidated sophomore. He had a lot of control on the sidelines. Kids are buying into him. So I think GP, with that coaching staff, they're doing a good job. They got him in there Monday morning and tuning him up to the offense. And it was vanilla, right? There was nothing crazy. And the talk is they're working on adding stuff to the package, which they kind of did last year. So I think the Reed Dooms there with GP until if Brandon does get to come back is going to look pretty good for him.
So one of the things we didn't hit on with 5AD1, I'm just going to go back to it real quick, is some of the Valley schools, some of the ones that we need to worry about or be on the lookout for. So PSGA North 2-0 with a 41-20 win over Los Fresnos, and Los Fresnos beat last week a Wesco East team that people were saying we're going to be making noise in 5A D1. So Wesco East is I think they're 1-1 now. They won over PSGA High 20-14, depending who you talk to down there. Could be a good win, could not be a good win, right? Obviously the PSGAs it's north right now. Vela still on a tear, another 55.1, 55-13 over Edinburgh High. It was Edinburgh North they beat last week by almost the same score. So be on the watch out for them. And the other team that folks thought were going to be making some noise in 5A D1 and Region 4 was Harlingen South, who is 0-2 right now. But they have lost to two 6A schools. They lost to Harlingen High week 1 in the Bird Bowl, and they just lost to Westlaco.
Harlingen smoked. I don't know exactly what other Valley team it was, but they smoked someone like 77-20.
It was actually Mercedes. Who is in the 5A D2, right? Who's in that district with Gregory Portland and Flower Bluff, which we'll jump into now. Flower Bluff 1-1 bounces back with a win over Laredo United South.
27-20.
Yeah, 27-20. So it looks like Jose Martinez is going to be the running back workhorse there. They've got a couple there, but he finished as the leader with 87 yards running and 2 touchdowns. The new quarterback, Jaden Palcello, I think is how you say his name, finished with 194 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Coming into his own. He's got some big shoes to fill, following Nash Viegas the last couple of years. So, but he's making his way, right? And talking to our guy Robbie, Flower Bluff should have won that game week 1 against Bernie. It's a young team; they're still trying to find their way. So keep your eyes on the Hornets. They actually play GP or Cal Allen this week, so there's a test of both of them.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. I think you get to kind of see what Cal Allen brings back, and then you get to see what the Bluff's doing. They seem to be kind of easing into their own, but the Flower Bluff seems to always get better, right? As the season progresses, they get stronger and stronger. So, yeah, busting in a new quarterback. I think they got a slew of running backs because they still have Cam Johnson, who had the leg injury last year, who's starting to kind of come into his own when they gave him some spot time because they had injuries at running back. So they have some weapons back there over in the Bluff. So they're gonna be a good one to watch next week. That should be the game of the week, right? I think for the Coastal men, probably Flower Bluff and Cal Allen. It usually is. So there's a little blood there too. Back in like the mid 2010s or whatever it was, Flower Bluff had some big wins over Cal Allen that they didn't like, and back and forth. So it should be a good one.
So that kind of sums up our D2. Now down in the Valley, with some shakeups, we talked about them already. Brownsville Porter surprising 2-0. Ed Cachelsa came out with a win this week. That's Coach Godinez' first win there as the head coach of the Yellow Jackets. He's the coach that we talked about last week that was promoted really quick, really, I think in the middle of 2 days. Mercedes, just like we said, 0-2, but they've lost to a couple 6A programs as well. They lost to Harlingen and Westlaco. So that's not a good barometer to see how good or how bad Mercedes is going to be. So keep an eye on the Tigers.
Exactly.
That'll take us down to 4A D1. Right. So we'll start with our local district first before we head up north to 15 D1. Cal Allen, they did what they were supposed to do. They ended up playing a team from Mexico, right? And that was Lomas Verdes, right? 41-6 they got out. And I don't think any of the starters played past the first quarter, I would think, right? I'm being facetious there.
Well, I mean, no. Yeah, it doesn't look – the stats are real marginal, right? Burnett was 7-10 for 103, ran 5 times for 52 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Epi carried the ball 16 times for 91 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it was kind of vanilla. See, I mean, Cal Allen right now, it seems like they're trying to find that offense, right? There's nothing explosive yet. It seems like they're just – Coach Campbell's trying to get it going, and Mexico City, it's kind of hard to measure, right? It's like you don't know exactly how good those guys are. They're just over here trying to get some looks before they go into play their league over there. So I mean,
hey, I gotta interrupt. I don't know if you've seen the chats there. The local Coastal Bend troll has made an appearance. Adrian Salazar, he's in here. Really doesn't matter. No team in caps from Corpus Christi to the Valley is winning state anyways, right? Never mind his Beeville Trojans scored a big win. Instead of thumping his chest about the Beeville's win, he's bashing other teams. Way to go, Adrian. Good job.
Playing the villain.
Yeah, playing the villain. He plays it well. I'm going to share. We got a highlight shared to us from Manuel G, big Cal Allen guy. I mean, there was probably highlights galore out of out of that Cal Allen game, but he sent one here.
Evil.
Let's pull it up real quick. Boom. Boom. Let's share that here. And here we go. Can y'all see that? There we go.
Oh, there you go. Burnett.
Yep, that's Burnett. Same play here. We just got it in a little bit late, so fake to Epi there. And just, I mean, it's hard to measure. I heard there wasn't a whole lot of kids on that Mexico sideline, maybe 20 to 25 players, but they were just excited about playing these guys. So,
oh yeah,
that was pretty good. Let's go ahead and end that screen share there. Okay, are we back? Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. Right. We're back.
Okay. So LaFeria with that district, they bounced back with a 27-25 win over PSGA Southwest. They took a loss last week. Kingsville 0-2 with a 45-7 loss to San Diego. You know, our guy, and we're going to say it again.
Jay,
you come on our show, and we're going to make a star out of you. RJ Valerio, 100 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 70 on the ground with another 2 touchdowns in that 45-7 win over Kingsville. Kingsville still having trouble, still trying to find their way.
Yeah, that's a big struggle down there right now.
So the district that's kind of a mess, and we hit on Alice already, right? So they're in that district as well. TM's in that district, LaFeria, Zapata. It's a mixed bag, but right now Cal Allen's looking at the top, maybe Alice at the second, depending how this injury shakes out and how those kids can focus on everything going forward. But right now, I mean, it's Cal Allen, Alice at the top, and kind of mixed bag at the end.
Certainly. So that should be good with them.
15-5A. This one's kind of a roller coaster rider. 15-4A. D1. Rockport goes down to Sinton. 0-2, 44-17. Braden Brown. We'll talk about the Pirates here up first, or the Sinton Pirates. Looks like he's back to form. Yeah. Had 2 touchdowns rushing, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns passing. I think he had 120 yards running on the ground. And another guy, Kobe Hesseltine, right? Another guy that's been on the show, 73 yards receiving and a touchdown. So it looks like the Pirates sitting in that essence are making their way, finally getting back into the groove. Ace Seibert from Rockport had 287 yards and 3 touchdowns passing, a couple interceptions. But Sinton had put up a 21-point second quarter, and that seemed to be the difference in the ball game.
I mean, when we talked to some people over there that went to that game at Rockport, it just was like Rockport's defense, just for whatever reason, man, they just were giving a lot of cushion to that Sinton offense. And, Braden did a good job of moving the ball down the field on them. And, Braden's no slouch. He's been on the varsity for a couple of years now. And, that's a big game the last couple of years. So I was a little shocked. I thought Rockport was going to get that one. It seems maybe Coach Troutman's got Sinton kind of moving in the right direction. And I still think both teams are gonna fare really well moving forward. I think Rockport's defense right now probably trying to find a little more identity right now, because I know they're putting kids on both sides of the ball. So that when you're having to go with kids on both sides of the ball at the level they are, it's still kind of like kind of wearing them down. So I think Rockport's gonna kind of have to figure that out a little bit. Ace, he had good stats. It's just wasn't quite enough to keep up with what Sinton was putting out there. So Sinton moving forward, I think Rockport needs to find their identity going forth.
Yeah. And they don't have a lot of time to rest. They've got Ingleside next week.
Pretty good.
So we'll talk about them when we get down to
you served in that district. So PLC, Port Lavaca Calhoun, took another loss to Richmond. They're 0-2. When's the last time?
Yeah. So Calhoun's 0-2, and they could be 0-3. So man, it's and Pleasanton is in that district as well, and Pleasanton had a pretty deep playoff run, that third round last year, first time in about 10 years I think they got that deep. They've got a returning quarterback. They got a lot of kids coming back there, so I mean they could be making some noise in that district as well that we counted out.
You want to keep an eye on Lavernia in that district as well. They're 1-1. They had a loss to Burnett week 1, but they had a pretty good win this week as well. So that just someone to pencil in. That's in your district. Just keep an eye on it as well. Daniel Garza, what's your take on GP sophomore quarterback? Baller. He's a baller. He's going to be good.
So Beeville, we mentioned it already when we kind of hit on Adrian. 41-6 over Orange Grove, who was a 55-6 winner over, or 55-0 winner over Hebbronville the week before. After having either, depending what stat you checked, either 28 yards of total offense or 48 yards of total offense, they came out with almost 500 yards of offense, 496 yards of offense in that win. They spread the ball around very well around the ground. There was like 5 or 6 kids that had carries, maybe even 7. Nothing that really stood out, nothing that broke 100, but they all did the job. So Beeville throwing themselves back in the mix for that district off that.
Coach Suss always does a good job, right?
Before.
They're going to be good. They're right in a good district that makes some noise too.
And just like Tyler says, Bishop's heading to B-Town, and Bishop 2-0. We'll get to them in just a little bit. So 4AD2, right? Robstown. We've had some folks there chiming in the comments there. Robstown 2-0.
2-0.
Derek Silva, the transfer from McAllen Memorial, 232 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and Edward Diaz 131 yards rushing. So they are coming around.
They what? The San Antonio YMCA club, or is it YMLA club?
YMLA club, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Bill, 20 win, that's good. I can't remember the last time Robstown was 2-0 and had people actually chiming in on here, getting excited about them. So good for the Cotton Pickers.
Yeah, and I remembered Jimmy Hawkins, the Hawkins guys. Those were the kids I was talking about that the last time that I can remember that Robstown was making playoff runs. They may have made the playoffs after that, but those are the guys that I remember, the Hawkins brothers that stand out. I knew it would come to me. It came to me probably 20 minutes after the show was over last week, but there it was, right? West Oso, 55-14 over John Paul II.
That was that Thursday night game?
I think it was a Thursday night game. Yeah. JP, man, they've probably got 20, 25 players on their sidelines right now. Very down on the athletic side over there at JP. So they're struggling. They're going to take their bumps. Hopefully it'll pay off when they start playing in their TAPS division.
What was the running back from West Oso? He put up 6 touchdowns, and how many yards was it?
Almost 300, 296.
Monster.
I think. Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up. Keep talking.
West Oso. And then you got what? Ingleside. We touched on that a little bit. 48-6 over AP. Ingleside moving to 2-0. The big thing for me, I was, just looking at those stat lines on Ingleside, right? 9 of 19 quarterback. What's the kid's name from Ingleside that's on the line? I didn't write that down.
I want to say it's Jacobson. It's spelled very weird.
919,
but
207 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 INTs. So a team that we're used to seeing a lot of wing T and stuff like that from Coach Hamrick. Our boy Dave bringing a little bit of that passive knowledge over to the Mustangs, right? 4 TDs, 2 INTs. Yeah. That's you clean that up. The thing was 426 yards of total offense though for the Mustangs. They had a lot of guys touching the ball, so that's huge.
Yeah, they had a lot
of guys that could score from different places. 21 point first half is really what the difference maker was. Kind of blew the game open, I think, for them. And AP, I'm not exactly sure. We haven't seen a lot from AP in the last couple of years, so it's kind of like, man, it's kind of rough over there. 0-2. They're having a hard time finding some wins as of late, and I really don't know how you go from that. Right, Ingleside, I think, is starting to really start snowballing into a good team. Their defense held AP to 121 yards. So anytime you're putting up 400 something plus yards and then holding the team down to 121, I mean that's huge, So good job for our boy David McHugh and Coach Hamrick and everyone else over at Ingleside. A big win right there.
So West Oso was Elijah Huff, 289 yards, 14 carries, and 6 touchdowns.
Elijah. And then, who else in that district? We have Bishop, right? Bishop's in that district.
Bishop's in the Valley District. Bishop is in the seeding district, is what that comes down to. There's 4 teams in that district. They're all making the playoffs. It just depends who's going to get in where. Depending who you believed. Bishop's breaking in a new head coach. They got rid of Louis. When was it? May time frame, somewhere around there. So they've got a new head coach, and they're 2-0. They've got a win last week, 24-20 over Tom Ball Christian Academy, and then they beat Moody this week, 35-15. So the Badgers, depending which way they're going and how it rolls from here, I mean, they get their first test this week, right? It's a Jekyll and Hyde Beeville team, right? Opposite end of the spectrums last week. We hit on them already. They go to Beeville this week. And Moody's heading to Eagle Pass. They'll be playing on a neutral site, be playing in Jordanton. Moody still looking for their first win.
They're having a hard time.
The rest of that district, Port Isabel 2-0. Raymondville 1-1 and La Grula 0-2. Right. So again, this is coming down to seedings. Right now, they've got PI as the number 1 and Raymondville number 2 and Bishop number 3. I can see this going
Your buddy
any
Ken
one of
Martin.
those 3.
Your buddy Ken Martin's excited about PI. You know that.
Oh yeah, he's a big PI guy. You know, Ken Martin was on that semifinal team that lost to Sealy in '94.
I can promise you this: he's the only guy in California that's repping PI.
Oh, 100%. 100%. They're probably like, what are you wearing? He's probably wearing his tarpon gear out there.
Tarpons.
Yeah. What is a tarpon? Right.
Long way from the private schools.
Yeah. So 3A D1.
It's a big one.
Big story. Yeah. Let's talk about 15 3A first. That's the district up to our north, but we've got some local teams in that district. Mathis. Mathis. After coming off a 46-7 loss to Ingleside, come out and beat who everybody was talking about as the world beaters, Taft.
Yeah.
50-46 on Thursday night. Taft Athletics or Taft Sports Network streamed this game. I caught it towards the end. We were out there at Buck Stadium. I didn't even know that game was being streamed, and I was watching I was talking to Kat, who's our show producer, who did that wonderful show intro we showed you guys today. They're at 22 Photography. She was at that game, covering that game, and she's sending me text. She's like, yo, this is a game, right? So Ethan Zapata, who's one of the guys in the backfield for Mathis, number 44, 39 carries, 259 yards, and only 1 touchdown. They spread it around quite a bit. But the big takeaway from this game, Taft led 39-20 at the half, and then got outscored 30-7 in the second half.
Yeah, 37 points in the second half for Mathis. That's huge.
Yeah, and 30, actually, it was 30.
30.
So yeah, it was 30. It was 20-14, or it was 39-20 at the half, and then they just went on that steamroll. I don't know what kind of adjustments Trey made at half, but whatever it did, it worked. Still, Acosta still finished with a good game for Taft. 368 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 60 rushing. And Josh Suarez, the do-everything Swiss Army knife over there, I'm guessing it was receptions, 12 receptions, 221 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, so they're still producing. They just, man, that Mathis defense stepped up in the second half.
Just what a shocker though that is though. I mean, because especially how Mathis came out, I was thinking, I legit thought Taft was going to put him in the coffin on this game right here.
Dude, I did too, and that could have been it, right? Remember, these are 15 to 17-year-old kids here on the sidelines, right? You come off a big win, like they did against Skidmore Tynan last week, and then you're up 39. You scored 39 points in the first half of this game, and you saw that Mathis took that beating last week. Confidence sets in, right? Complacency sets in, and you come out flat in the second half, and that could have been what happened, right? And Mathis came in, they're ready, and they threw a couple haymakers and ended up winning.
Yeah, for sure.
So the rest of that district, I think you're in agreement. Edna is still the class of that district. They with a 27-21 win over Bay City. I think that district's still theirs to lose. London 1-1 after a 39-6 loss to Refugio. Refugio bounces back, and those guys had a very good game. I know either Ryan Linney is here or Billy is in here. Billy, you guys want to give us a little rundown, or Ryan, you want to give us a little rundown of what happened in that game? We'll wait.
I was just shocked a little bit because that's not shocked that Refugio won. Right? I kind of figured they would, but like I was telling you the other day, I was like, man, I really expected London, with what they've been doing the last couple of years, to have given Refugio a pretty good game, and 39-6. I wasn't there, but I had a couple of buddies texting me about it. They were watching it. Mark was watching it. He said he was pretty impressive with how much running options they had. So that looks like that's going to be Refugio's identity this year, running options, or at least that's what they're trying to perceive right now. But, I was expecting London to give them a tougher game. And honestly, if you told me at the end of the night, hey, London beat Refugio, I might not have really been shocked, just because, from what, my understanding of what London's been doing the last couple of years, it seems like that, hey, they're starting to build a pretty good program over there. And then they came over here and Refugio just, kind of put it on them, which I'll tell you exactly where Refugio's at, right? They're doing what Refugio always does, gearing up for a deep run. So I think if you're a Bobcat fan, you have to be excited with some of the talent you have. I saw some highlights. Ernest Campbell, man, he's a small guy, but he's starting to look like he's starting to fill out a little bit. He was trucking people. He moved over, and he's playing with some aggressive attitude. So he looks pretty stout for them. And of course, Bland runs the ball really well as well. So I'd like to hear Ryan's take on it because he's a avid Refugio guy, but Refugio probably gonna make another deep run, and I think London will bounce back though, moving forward.
Man, but that is a tough district that they're in now. So to finish off the rest, Vanderbilt 47 lost, 2 Shiners to both top 2A teams that lost last week bounced back with wins over 3A opponents, right? 47-0. Goliad, what's that?
They're gearing up for each other.
Yeah, and that's a district matchup this year, folks. Remember that. That's not going to be a playoff game. That is a district game this year. And then Goliad, after a win over Tidehaven last week, loses 16-13 to Poteet. Sans Ernest Davila, who was the 3A MVP there at running back last year. So again, I think this district as well, after Edna, it's kind of a mixed bag. We're going to see what happens there as far as that seeding goes. And, Mathis, they could use this win as a springboard to the rest of the district. A lot of folks had Mathis not making the playoffs. They could make some noise depending on what's going to happen, right? 16-3A D1. Fast and Foul Furious, 2-0.
Oh, man.
Right? Ruben's Fruit is finally starting to bloom. Went over Heavenville this past week, and Heavenville, man,
0-2.
0-2. It's been a while. And then they had a 30-14 win over Santa Maria in week 1. So man, congratulations to the Fighting Bull jerseys, right? Ruben's been there. Ruben was the former offensive coordinator, run game coordinator there at Miller, 4 years ago? And
probably 4 years ago now. And then he came from Crosby prior to that. So he's been a part of some really good staffs. So he knows what he's doing, right? He seems like he's very active on social medias, right? So we interact with him, and he does a lot for those kids at Foul Furious. He gets nice uniforms. He's making sure that the equipment that they got is up to par, right? So starting to see a little fruits of his labor, right? And it's exciting for Ruben and Foul Furious, because this is his first head coaching stop, and starting off 2-0, you couldn't ask for anything more.
Yep. Hey, and I could be wrong, but I want to send a shout out. I think he just got accepted to a PhD program. I think
so.
If I'm wrong, Ruben, I'm sorry. And if I'm right, congratulations, guy.
Yeah, this is master's, so I'm pretty sure you're right on that one.
Yeah. So they face Monte Alto next week, so they should be 3-0.
Definitely.
They should be 3-0 after next week. Man, also in that district, San Diego. We talked about San Diego already. They had a big win, good bounce back win. So we will jump into 3A D2 Lyford. They've had a big win last week as well too, so they'll make some noise in that district in 16-3A D1. 3A D2
boys.
Everybody but Banquetti lost in this district. My boys, I guess we'll start with them since we talked about Taft already. Odom's 0-2 after a 34-7 loss to Tidehaven. We said it last week. Odom's a very young team. That game easily could have been 21-7, 21-0 in the favor of Odom going into halftime. They can't finish drives, man. They're young. They're a young team. I was at that game. Odom was in the within the 5-yard line 3 times in the first half and couldn't get in. Could not get in for a score.
Line? What seems to be the hold up?
They're just young, man. They're young. They're trying to gel. It's a little bit of the fronts on both sides. And it doesn't help that Tidehaven's got a 6'5", 280-pound quarterback. That's what I'm guessing. The kid was big. Chance McRae finished with 11 carries for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Joseph Dodds, who's number 5, the guy that I was worried about from last year, he's a sophomore and he's 216 rushing yards. Those guys did it all for them. So Tidehaven, they have a pretty good squad. Young, they don't have a very big squad at all. Man, I say on the sidelines, they maybe had 10 extra kids.
Oh, wow.
On the sidelines. Yeah, not a very big team at all. But yeah, not a whole lot to report on that district. Banquetti 36-0 over SGA. They got Fremont next week. And Fremont, man, they're handing out chingas right and left, dude. They had another big win.
Dang.
46-0 week 1 over Monte Alto and 60-7 over the Mighty Red Ants down in Progreso. So Fremont, and we had Coach Cantu on the show, man, 2 years ago, I think, right? When they brought their program back. If you guys are familiar with what's going on in Fremont, man, the school district was almost taken over by TEA a few years ago. Had to bring conservators in over the school board and whatnot. And the school almost got shut down. A lot of those kids were going to Falfurious and things like that. And Stephen Van Matry came in as the superintendent and started to change things, passed a couple bonds, got off that conservatorship, got the district back from TEA and built a new football stadium, built some new facilities out there. And the community's buying in. They're loving it. And the results are showing pretty quick on that football field. They're doing very well.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Premont. Congratulations, Coach Cantu. You guys are doing great. We kind of hit on 2A D1 already, right? Shiner and Refugio both bounced back with wins over 3A opponents this week. They both lost to 3A opponents the week before. Three Rivers is a surprise in that district, 2-0. Beating Falls City, who played for the state championship last year, beat Falls City week 1, 34-0. And then they beat a 3A team in Nixon Smiley 31-20 this past week. So keep your eyes on the Bulldogs, man. I think they were projected to finish 4th or maybe miss the playoffs period. But they may be fighting for a playoff spot.
Yep. Yeah, I think they will, man. It'll be interesting to see how they handle Shiner and Refugio, though. I mean, I've seen good Three Rivers teams in the past, and then you match them against Refugio, and it's like, oh, what happened here? Right. So hopefully they get the ball or keep the ball rolling, right, and move in. It'd be nice to see Three Rivers make a little playoff run.
Ganado, who I think is a move down this year, they're 2-0 as well in that district. They beat a couple 3A opponents these past couple of weeks. They beat here's up for discussion. Palacios 49-7 in week 1. And then they just beat Van Vleck 39-14 this past week. So they could also be making some noise there as well, and don't count us out of that race as well. Javier Guzman, Three Rivers has a solid quarterback. Give us some more info, Javier. But that's really all we got as far as for the reactions this week. I mean, man, Sergio, our guy at South Texas Bloodsport, was over at a bunch of games this past week, and he got a couple of highlights that we're gonna share with you guys just to show you guys here a little bit. So let's go to our Chrome tab here for a little bit, and let's go. So here's Corey Holmes here, who's an excellent runner for Miller, who's going to be making some noise this year. He's gonna be a problem for a lot of folks this year.
That's their boy, man. That's the one everyone talks about right there, Corey Holmes.
Yep.
That three-headed monster. They love Corey Holmes.
And then we've got Mr. All-American here, right? A little bit of extras at the end there. You got to love it.
Good old Lonnie, dude. Lonnie is a beast.
Yeah. And then you've got, we really didn't talk about how vets did a lot of their work this past week.
What were you saying about vets?
Hang on, still trying to figure out this new studio. They had a pick six. That was the first score of the game, right? That was I have it here somewhere. I had my notes written down somewhere. Yeah, Brandon Garza with a 43-yard pick six that opened up scoring for vets. Luke Moya had a 68-yard punt return, and Jaden Castaneda, this guy number 5. The running back for vets. I don't know if you guys have seen him this year, but man, he's as big as a number 2 pencil, fast. But he finished with 98 yards on 12 carries, had a 54-yard touchdown run, and Elijah Durrett had 197 yards passing, 28 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns.
You also have a touchdown run off the bat that was called back on penalty as well.
That was called back on holding, or was a block in the back or something. Yeah. So Jaden Castaneda, he's a ball player that you're gonna have to watch out for, those guys. Let's see. Dual threat, really fast. Three Rivers is mixing up spread and wing T. Caden Solis is his name. He's a junior. That's the quarterback there in Three Rivers. And Three Rivers, every now and then they got a good one that they'll put out. This could be one of them.
Defense. Yeah, definitely.
Guys, I think we're really gonna wrap it up here, guys. Justin, do you have anything else?
This is a pretty quick recap show this week.
Yeah, we wanted to we wanted to get this in now because we start nights tonight, so we'll be working tonight, and we're gonna have time to get a show in this week. I think games start on Thursday night again this week. I think Odom's gonna host Mathis Thursday night. I think that should be KRS6, the CW game of the week this week, and so that'll be there. So, like I said, we roll off Thursday morning. We wouldn't really have any time to get a show in before everything started this week. So, guys, as we're still figuring out this new studio that we have here, if you guys got any highlight reels or anything that you want to share, send them to us. Shoot them us through email. Shoot us through DM. We'll highlight your kids, man. That's what we're here for. Pete's Chicken. Consider this our 6th day of posting until we get a show sponsorship.
Seriously, it started off as a joke, but now I want it to come to fruition, right?
Fruition. Hey, they're liking our posts, so they're paying attention. They're seeing what's going on, and I'm hoping business is picking up with all the free publicity that we've given them. So we just need to make it official. We need to make it official. What's that?
More though.
I did see that. Thank you, David. Go Pete's. Go Pete's. Guys, again, thanks for tuning in again today. And we'll call it a wrap. Just keep us updated throughout the week. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, DM us, do whatever. And again, you can find this on audio on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcast, you'll find us. Thanks, guys. And we'll see you next week.